Hi, welcome to a home episode of Lattice Training. A lot of you are probably watching this from home because a lot of climbing facilities and venues are now being closed. So in today's video, what I'm going to look at is how to adapt your fingerboard training to make the most of your home setup, looking at all the tricks and tips that we've picked up on how to make the most of the intensities and sessions that you're going to be doing in your training. We're going to look at three topics today. One is going to be the grip positions you're going to use and how to vary them to keep your fingers safe. Two is going to look at how to change the intensities using household items. And three, we're going to go through some specific sessions and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do them using some basic equipment. When you're training at home, it's really important to make sure that you're warming up thoroughly. Down the climbing wall, we might tend to do a lot of easy climbing and build up slowly. At home, you've only got your fingerboard or home board available. So make sure you still take the same amount of time to warm up really well. We've done a video on this, so check out the rest of the YouTube channel and follow that before doing any of today's sessions. So the first thing we're going to look at is what grip positions to use. As you're going to be replacing climbing with a lot of fingerboard work, it's important to try and vary the grip positions using. The reason that is if you're in the same position all the time for all of the loading throughout the week, then your joint angles and your tendons are going to be staying the same throughout all of the exercise. This can cause some overstrain injuries and overuse injuries, and it can cause some slight niggles or issues to rise up. So it's quite good to mix up your grip positions throughout. A couple of little tips with this is during the endurance style sessions or repeaters, mix between open hand and half crimp between the sets and reps. I'll give you an example of this in a moment as well. In terms of your strength training, try and vary the grip positions a little bit more, but only using the ones that are more comfortable. The three main ones that we might use are half crimp, 4 fingers, open 4 fingers, and 3 finger drag. If you're more experienced, you can start training pockets, front 3 half crimp, so that's just with the front 3 fingers on, and back 3 half crimp. As a little tip on this as well, most people seem to get surprised that the front 3 is usually much weaker than back 3. So don't be alarmed if you have to drop the weights massively. The main thing with this is if you're going to start adding this type of training in, it's really important that you adjust the load according to the type of grip position you're using. For me personally, I might be using plus 10 kilos in a front 3 position, but if I was going to a 4 finger grip position, I might be adding an extra 30 or 40 kilos onto that. If I was to try and do the front 3 with the same weight on, obviously it's not going to work out very well. So max strength training, start mixing up the grip positions and either follow the guidance of your coach if you have one, or just have a go at playing around with different grip positions yourself, but please take your time and build up slowly. So to continue looking at grip positions and how to vary this in your training, what I'm going to do next is a 35% repeater session. You can find this on the crimp tap, and that is going to be working my aerobic capacity, so it's pretty low intensity. As you can see, I've got a pulley system up here, which is attached below the board. And what I can do is add some weight onto that to remove the weight from my body, so I'm only working at 35% of my max intensity. Because it's quite a long session and we've got a load of sets and reps to do, what I'm going to do is set the timer off, and each repetition or every few repetitions, I'm going to change the grip position that I'm using from open to half crimp as I go through this training exercise. That means I'm going to vary the grip position throughout and avoid that overuse injury that I really don't want to get. When completing these repeater style workouts, that can be anywhere between 35% of your max finger strength for longer sets and reps, or it can be down to 95% or 90%, so you're doing just a few repeater exercises, so 7 on 3 off just a couple of times. For me, what I would look to be doing is on the really easy sessions up to maybe 40 or 50% max finger strength, so aerobic power and aerobic capacity workouts where you're building a bit of pump up, I'd be looking to mix up the finger position throughout each repetition. So first time on half crimp, second time on fully open, third time on front 3 drag. Now just mix that up how I'm feeling. The reason being is the intensity is so low that I can get onto the board really slowly and it's not too much of a shock for the system. When we're looking to do the anaerobic capacity sessions, like so the repeaters where you're working at high intensity, so anything over 50%, I won't change the grip position during each set. So I'll do all 4 or 6 repetitions of that set in the same position, so half crimp. Then when I have a rest, the next set I'll change the grip position, because I don't want to be changing the grip position too much to that high intensity, just because you'll end up pulling on into a slightly weird position that you're not used to from the previous repetition, and it's a lot heavier weight to get used to. So easy sessions, mix it up between the reps. Harder sessions, mix it up between the sets. And that'll be really good to stop any overuse. So we're really lucky here that we've got a pulley set up and a load of weights to do our training with. But some of you at home might not have that available. A couple of options on how to change the intensity is going to be using a different fingerboard setup and different ideas of how to change the load. So we'll go through a couple of examples of that, and to carry on from that 35% repeater session, I'm going to do that now using a portable fingerboard. So hopefully if you can get hold of one of these or something similar, if you haven't got a normal fingerboard, and hang it up on a tree or from underneath the staircase. And I've not got any weights available, so I need to remove the same amount of weight from my body just using my feet in front of me, either on a chair or on the floor. So when I'm trying to reduce the amount of load that's going to be on my body, I've got a couple of options really. One is the pulley system you saw earlier, but now I'm just going to be trying to use the floor really, because I'm going to go for the intensity and the feeling of that workout. Because it's an aerobic capacity workout, you'll see in the description it tells you to get a slight level of pump and just a moderate amount of blood flow. It's not too intense, you should no way be feeling failure whatsoever. So to do that, what I can do is just keep my feet on the floor for the sets and reps, and just make sure I'm monitoring the intensity of my body weight. So just doing that alone can still get you the same amount of workout. As you can see, if I'm in this position here, to make it more intense, all I need to do is stick my bum down. There's going to be more weight going through my arms. If I lift my hips up and more weight onto my feet, like climbing, it's going to reduce the load on my fingers and it'll take that off. Keep aiming for the feeling throughout the session, and you can adjust your body position each time. If you can't reach the floor from your fingerboard, or you need to get the intensity even higher, you can just add a chair into the equation and keep your foot up on the chair. Just make sure this is positioned really well and it's not going to fall off, because that's going to be horrible. So when using a portable board or anything that's going to be moving and hung up, it can end up becoming a little bit uncoordinated if you're changing grip positions or you do repetitions, so on and off, on and off. So one thing that I'd recommend doing is firstly always trying to keep one hand in contact the whole time. Allow yourself a little bit more time to hang on to the position. So if you're doing 7 seconds on, 3 seconds off, realistically, as you come to that 7 seconds on, just lower on slowly. Even if it means you miss a second each time, it's more important that you get the grip position right and you increase the load slowly. The third option that I really want to emphasize is that you can keep your feet on and still get the intensity high. So if I'm doing any sort of max hangs and I'm feeling like this is a little bit unstable for some reason, what I might do is add weight to a harness and still keep my feet on the floor. As long as I'm getting that feeling right, then it should be perfect. So another way to reduce the weight that you're going to be using instead of keeping your feet on the floor is I'm going to try and keep my feet into a sling. This is usually better if you've got a standard fingerboard that you can have hanging up. So all that means is I'm going to keep my weight in the sling. It's going to take a little bit of load off my body, and I'm going to hang in the same position as before. So we've had a quick look on how to reduce the intensity from your body weight using a sling or using your feet on the floor or a chair. Now let's have a look at increasing the weight. Firstly, you can do having a weights attached around a harness. Another really simple way is just to use a normal rucksack and just fill it with either weights or any sort of household items. A little tip, put like a book in the back of it so it doesn't rub against your back. And then you can just put in as many weights as you need to make sure that you're getting the intensity right. So when you've got a rucksack on, it does put your body in a slightly different position, and it feels a little bit different when you're hanging in that position. It's going to almost want to tip you back. So just make sure that you're holding in a really good position to make sure that you're going onto the board slowly. As another little tip using a rucksack, if you want to improve the top part of your pull-up and you really struggle with the top section of it, if you do your pull-ups with weight, with a rucksack on instead, it puts your body at a slightly different leverage position that makes that top half harder. So anyone that's trying to get that one arm at the top or be much stronger in the top part of a pull-up, start putting your weights in a rucksack and it's much better. If you've not got any weights available to put inside a rucksack, you can still start adding other household items and just get an idea. If you've got any scales, use that to get an idea of the weight. Something we use quite a lot at home, if you've just got changing the weight a little bit, is using Nalgene's. So 1 litre of water is a kilo. So start adding those up into a rucksack and you can kind of keep track of it that way. If you need to add a lot of weight, then you need to start thinking about using some really heavy bits of climbing equipment or anything else you've got. The main thing, once again though, is look at the intensity of your session. What are you supposed to be feeling? Max strength sessions, you should be working really hard and feeling close to failure. So make sure you've got enough weight to be doing that, even if you're not exactly sure what it is. If you're aiming to get pumped in a power endurance session, do 1 set and see how that starts to feel. If it's too much, just remove some weight and experiment. It's fine to experiment for 1 session and then you can get it right for the following sessions, just keeping track of what items you're using in a bag or around your waist. So one final solution for training your finger strength whilst at home. If you don't have a fingerboard or a portable board available, is using some kind of pinch block or edge block. So what that means is you can have some kind of section of wood with a bit of tat attached, and it means you can start adding more and more load. With this setup, we've got a load of different edges available as well, so I can train different grip positions using a counterweight. Really simple setup, having a carabiner attached. I can attach the weight in a rucksack or some sort of household items. And then what I'm going to be doing is holding that weight for the sets and reps of a normal training workout. One thing I want to avoid is starting with it too high and having to lift it up, because I'm going to start to become limited by the shoulder in my arm. In this position, it'd be better to stand up on a step or a chair and squat from your legs and stand into that position. What you can do is do max amount of strength by doing 10 seconds, 7 seconds, whatever your training session is, or you can do repeaters in the same position. So doing 7 on, 3 off, and just removing that weight, keeping hold of the pinch block throughout. For anyone who's in a rental accommodation, this is a really, really good solution and keep a lot of the finger strength you've been working hard for whilst you're not able to get to a crag, a climbing wall, or use a fingerboard. So hopefully that's some really useful advice that you can adapt your home setup to do any of the fingerboard sessions you're already doing.